where do you stand in this, Stuart? If Manchester United were to get the foot down on the accelerator pedal in terms of recruitment and were to bring in Harry Kane, despite, no doubt, resistance from Daniel Levy, but were to bring in Kane, what kind of partnership would you envisage a Kane-Rashford partnership to be?
I think Kane's got to benefit any team, not just his goals, Jim, but probably his assists and his ability to turn, as we've seen with Son, playing him in. Now, if you've got someone like Rashford, who is the biggest threat in Manchester United's front line, there's no doubt about it. I saw it with my own eyes yesterday. He was the one player that could open you up with his movement. And if Kane's playing alongside him, both for club and country, I think that will be a massive benefit for both.
I mean, Sammy, we often talk about Tottenham in the same breath we talk about Daniel Levy. Would it be disastrous for Spurs to allow Kane to walk away for nothing next summer?
Well, I don't think it would be the preferred option for anybody, would it? Maybe Harry, because then he can work a deal that benefits him solely. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Harry Kane will stay at Spurs, is my view on it.
For all time?
Yeah, I think, well, certainly for the next contract round, which might be another 3 years. Again, a lot will depend on who they bring in. I know that they're very keen and motivated and working towards a new sporting director and manager, and those things may well change the landscape. Of course, you know, it's not one of the traits of Tottenham Hotspur's ownership to let players' contracts run down so they can give them away for nothing, is it? So you would expect something to happen this summer of some shape or description, either a cementing of his future at Tottenham or a disposal. And I think it's a very difficult one to sell to the Tottenham fans, the disposal of Harry Kane. So I would assume the former rather than the latter.
Well, certainly when he spoke to the students, as you remember, Simon, in recent days, Daniel Levy, chairman, he doesn't say much publicly, but he spoke to the students at Cambridge Union, and he said, it would make sense, in his view, for Harry to stay long-term at Tottenham.
He can absolutely win a trophy at Spurs. But, you know, being a legend is also important. You know, the fact that he's the top scorer for Tottenham Hotspur, he's making history. And, you know, I hope one day that there's a statue of Harry Kane outside our stadium.
I mean, yeah, sure, a statue, fine, but Harry wants to win things. They all do, Stuart.
Yep.
And they haven't managed to.
No, and I don't know how close Tottenham are to winning something at this moment in time. It looks a long way off.
Are they as far away as ever?
Difficult to say as ever. Why you've still got Kane and Son in your front line, I wouldn't say as ever, but certainly the rest of the team are way behind, I would say. So you can understand why he might leave. I'd be intrigued to see him leave, stay on these shores, but leave, and the interaction of him at another club, I would. But then again, I'm not a Tottenham fan.
As Simon suggests he will, what does that tell us about Harry Kane, if he does stay?
I think he owes Tottenham Hotspur nothing at all at this moment in time. I really do. I think he's been a brilliant servant, a great captain for England and the club. And if he did leave, then you would shake his hand, everyone connected with Tottenham, and say thank you very much for what you've done. You've been an absolute legend for this football club. So
if he did stay, what would that say about his ambition? You'd question it?
No, I would say if he's happy to stay at the club, that's down to him. I don't think you can use it as a whip to beat someone, loyalty, because loyalty's played a big part in my life. I probably could have left and gone to Manchester United and have more trophies in my hand at this moment in time than I did staying at Nottingham Forest. But I enjoyed working with the manager and with the club that I stayed at.
Is that ever a source of regret to you?
Never. No, why would it be? I think you make decisions based on all the information you have today. And that's what I did in my career. And when I look back now, I've got absolutely no regrets. The thing is, you won trophies in your career, Stuart.
This is the thing that's evaded Kane. So, I mean, to me, Simon, if Harry Kane really wants to look back in his career and think, yes, I absolutely maxed it out, I would have thought he would need to move.
Maybe. But also on the other side of it, Harry Kane's been part of a side that's underachieved in certain opportunities that they've had. You know, the season that Leicester won the league, fair play to Leicester, they were the side that deserved to win the league, but Tottenham Hotspur were in that mix. They'd look back on that an opportunity. Harry Kane was in that side. FA Cup semi-finals that they lost, that they can look back on and say Harry Kane was in that side. League Cup quarterfinals or FA Cup quarterfinals this year, they decided they weren't going to turn up for against Sheffield United. Harry Kane was in that side. Champions League finals that were killed by an early penalty in the game, but still another 88 minutes to go in the game to be able to overcome it. Harry Kane was in that side, so he's a contributing part of the failings. But there's no doubt that his time at Tottenham, for his contribution to Tottenham, he has done what a top player would do playing for Tottenham, which has done his job, done it very well. So if he did leave, it would be a ridiculous assertion for anyone to suggest that he doesn't have any loyalty. But there's a lot to be said, like Stuart says. We make a song and dance out of what people think, what we think they think. What the only people that know what they know are those themselves. And Stuart talks about the background that he had at Nottingham Forest and the opportunities to go and play for Man United at a time when Man United were beginning to really be in their pomp during the 90s. But there's something to be said for playing for people that you want to play for in environments that you love playing in and getting the rewards that you think you want to get for your career. So we don't know we assume that Harry Kane is so desperately unhappy that he must go somewhere else to win trophies, and that will only be the thing that defines his career. Maybe being England captain, maybe being England's top goal scorer, maybe being Tottenham's goal scorer, and maybe at the back end of his career, bringing something to Tottenham might be his motivation. And maybe that's idealism.
He makes a great point there, because if I go back to Nottingham Forest now and I walk down the corridor and it says the most capped player any nationality to play for this club is myself, and that gives me a great sense of pride. And the fact that I spent 12 years of real loyalty and my relationship with people at that football club, both supporters as much as anything, and probably all the clubs that I've worked for, that they see there's a sense of loyalty when you serve that football club.
Yeah. And Harry will always have that.
100% he will at Tottenham. Even if he walks out tomorrow, he'll have that forever.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.